Hey everybody, welcome back to the Kit Cave. I thought I'd just share a quick, or not quick, but a progress update with regards to my Warhammer ventures. Sticking with my theme of the Sisters of Battle. Of course, over the last couple of months, I've been working on the Battle Sisters squad, as we can see here, the box set in front of us. Predominantly just putting together all the models from this kit, doing a few conversions, thrown into the mix there, because I like to convert things. Yeah, and I've been working on a couple of more. Still a bit of work in progress going forwards, so a little bit of a show and tell video for everybody out there. That's what I've been working on. Wanted to show as well a little bit of a process on something, as I did a bit of experimentation with regards to the actual converting of some of these models, and I thought I'd share that with everybody. So jumping straight in, last time I was working on this particular model here. This was taking the Sister of Battle with the heavy bolter and converting it into a squatting down, kneeling down pose to get it into a more dynamic. Sorry, I'll try and get that better in camera. There you go. So she's a bit more of a dynamic pose, squatting down, blasting away. So that's all ready to go, ready to be painted up. As you can still see, it's all in bits here. I like to have my bits on my models in sub-assemblies before I start to paint them. And basically what I've got over here is the squad. It's pretty much all put together, the main parts all in bits and pieces ready to be painted, with a couple of little or one or two little conversions still in the mix here, which I'll come to now actually. So another conversion I was working on, one final Sister of Battle for this squad. Looking at the instruction book here, it was this model right here. It was this one. Again, great sculpt, great poses, as they always are, but I always like to take some of them and make them just a little bit more dynamic, make them more unique for my particular army. And I had this Sister of Battle left over. I was thinking about, okay, what can I do with this? It's okay, it's all right, but I'd rather have a little bit more dynamic than that. So what I eventually did, or decided on doing, as always, was took this model, completely cut it to pieces, to give it a more dynamic pose. And what I actually came up with, I'd actually decided to have this. So it's Sister of Battle, which is basically in a forward charge motion. Forward charge, boulder up, blasting away as she's running. Left arm, again, is just the stock piece, spare stock piece that was left over from the kit. This is going to be her left arm. Now, I was thinking about having both of these bolters, being raised up like this as she's running forward and firing two bolters simultaneously. That may still yet be the case. I'm not too sure about that yet. The only problem with this, trying to get these arms up, of course, are these shoulder pauldrons. They are on the kit pieces. They're here, and they need moving up, and it's a bit of a pain in the butt to do that, to be honest. But I don't know. I'll have a look. She could be having two bolters raised, or my initial thought with this, sorry, my hand's a bit shaky, I'll try to keep it better on camera for you, is to actually have it coming back like this. So she is in a full-on forward charge pose like this. This arm's coming back with this bolter as the other one's coming forward as she's running full pelt forwards and firing at the same time. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, and I'll probably have it in this configuration. It looks quite dynamic. It's quite good. Now, of course, to do this conversion, it meant that I had to make some molds and make some cast pieces for the legs. So these legs were off of different Sisters of Battle. This leg actually came from the Seraphim squad box set recast. Okay, and you see here a bit of putty work going on for the little derriere that we're seeing there. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. I'll come back to how I did this in just a moment with these legs, because that's something that I wanted to show you guys, ladies and gentlemen, I should say, who are into this hobby, how I did these, how I made these cast pieces, and I'll come to that in just a second. The other one that I'm working on then, which is very much the work in progress. So this is the from the original box kit from this squad. It was this lady here. It's the body holding the simulacrum, or however you pronounce that. Well, of course, I've got that on a different model just there. So I had this body left over, and the reason for that is because this is going to become my own Palatine. I'm making my own Palatine model. Still a work in progress. So you can see it's just the core body. of this young lady over here. The arm with the plasma pistol and the sword. This again came from the Seraphim squad box set. Nothing fancy here, just a straight attach them on into that configuration, and I'll figure out which type of head's going to go onto there. The difference with this, as we're seeing, I've cut off just here. There's a bit of a rocky outcrop on the original model, and I've cut it off. The reason for that being is because I thought, well, to have this as a more dynamic pose on the base, I've got here in my little baggie, got a nid. I'm going to tear a nid, so I'm going to be chopping this to pieces. A termagant, I think this one is. Going to be chopping this up, seeing what I can do with it, because the whole point of this being is that she's going to be having this foot resting on a dead nid that she's just killed. Bit of work there to chop this one up and get it working and fitting onto the base, but I think that's going to look pretty good. I might chop the head off and, you know, do a bit of bending of the tail, bit of heat this up with the heat gun, get it bend it around a little bit, mold it into shape. But you know, you're kind of getting the idea. It's going to be on a dead nid that she's just completely destroyed. I think that'll look pretty good, pretty dynamic on the base there. So that's still the work in progress with that one, and I will do another progress update video with that as I do it, and I'll probably try to, you know, put together an actual work in progress as I'm doing it video to show that process as it goes along. So that's where I am at that point with this squad. It's still all in bits at the moment, ready for painting and finalising. But there we go. With regards to the bases, before I jump in to the other aspect I wanted to show on this video, I got to be honest, when it comes to bases, and I always was lazy with them, trying to do these nice fandangled bases, I'm just lazy with it. Like, you know, I really am lazy when it comes to making up, you know, putting little tufts of grass on the bases and making them look fantastic. I'm just lazy when it comes to that. The good thing with the modern world now is that we can go to the internet. And I've actually got a box here full of bases. And if I just pull them all out, what these are, I was searching online for some dynamic bases to use. Oh, get it all into camera shot here. And I came across these. Now, I will put a link in the description of this video if anybody wants to pick these up, if you haven't already, or if you want to pick them up, that is. Essentially, these came from Cult's 3D printing website. They are free to download, and they're effectively what's known as base toppers, Warhammer 40k base toppers. They were put together by a chap called, or a user on there called Mazer, or Mazer, however you pronounce it. And they've been printed in resin. Now, I don't have access to a resin printer myself, so I actually sourced a chap online. Funnily enough, it turns out there's a chap here in my hometown who actually does this commercially for people. So I contacted him, asked him if he would print these files out. And I said they were, you know, they're free to download, and he said, yeah, I'll do that for you. £38 was the charge that he charged me for them. There's 18 bases here. They range from your standard 32mm bases to 40 to 50 mils, all the way up to a big one here. We've got a 90mm base there for a dynamic one. £38. I wasn't going to quibble on price. I don't know if that's a good price for 3D printing. I don't know. Wasn't going to quibble on it, you know, because I understand it's people's time, it's the resources, it's the resin, it's the energy cost to run the machines, and then it's the curing of them and the cleaning up afterwards. Yeah, 38 quid, job done. But just to show you some of them, which is what I like, you know, there's like this one here with all the details on it. It says little base topper, you know, got some bolter shell casings there, and these are designed so that you can just stick the actual, you know, the black base to the bottom if you wish. I mean, you could even probably use them as the base on itself, just like that, if you wanted to. Try and focus in. So yeah, pretty decent. I like that. That's nice, quick, easy, you know, dynamic bases. Get them painted up. Maybe do a little bit of, you know, a little bit of weathering to them. But there's all manner of different styles here. One I particularly like is this one. That's pretty good. When it's got a statue that's fallen over, and that's quite dynamic. That's quite good. I like that one. Another one here shows I don't know whether this is going to be true scale to the new scale of the Primaris Space Marines, but there's a dead Marine there. That looks quite good. It's quite a unique one there. And so on it goes, and so on it goes. So this is one I'm going to be using for the bases, for my squads, for my models. Now the thing with this is I'm not going to be paying £38 every single time to you know, to have these things printed. What I'm actually going to do, because I'm a cheapskate, is I'm actually going to be making silicone molds of all of these bases. I'm going to cast these into silicone until I've got the molds ready to go, and then all I need to do then, whenever I want to use one of them or use them for my squads, use them for my models, I can just simply recast these into resin myself. You know, out here in the cave itself, just pour the resin in, get it cast, job done, and there's my set. So these are effectively, these are the masters. These are the masters, which are going to be, as I just mentioned, recast into silicone, making silicone molds of them, so I can then just recast however many I like, whenever I like, into resin to use as I see fit. But there we go. That's quite a good one. I like that. That's a big one. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe, you know, Celestine may go on. It might be a bit big for that actually, but to be fair, or you know, more than Val may go on that. I don't know. Little bolter there, but yeah, good base toppers. You know, so again, on Colts, free to download for anybody who's interested. Again, I will put the link in the description. I will also put the link to the company or the chap who printed these, because he does do it commercially for people. It's known as 3D Print, 3D Resin UK, I think is the website, but I'll pop the link in the description if anybody wants to potentially contact this chap with any particular projects that you may wish need to be done in resin, if you don't have access to a resin printer, if you need to. And it's not just this kind of thing. If you look on his website, he does all manner of different projects for people. Yeah, worth a look if you're interested. You know, don't have to, up to you, but the option is there. So going back to converting then. Converting. So when we do, you know, when you're doing converting stuff like this, there's often a need to recast different parts from different models, you know, to splice them together. And as I've already mentioned, with this one, this young lady, it was the legs that I had to do, taking off other models and make molds of them and get them recast. Now, to do that, I've been using blue stuff, which is great for doing this kind of work. If I pull one out a minute, yeah, I'll use this one. So I've got some blue stuff molds already done. Now I'm not going to do an entire tutorial video how to use blue stuff. There's loads of videos already on YouTube that show this process. What I will say though, that my process of doing these molds is I keep this blue stuff as hot as I can keep it, to keep it nice and soft and squidgy. The softer, more squidgy that it is, the more detail it's going to capture on the models. But my process is I do the bottom piece first to sink the part into it. I'll then cast the top bit, but then what I tend to do is I'll flip it over, take the bottom piece off and redo this bottom piece again, just to make sure it's got everything captured detail wise in that process. Now the bit that I wanted to show everybody here, you can just make it out on this leg here. It's clear. You can just see it. I did spray it over with a bit of paint. Some of it's rubbed off while I've been handling it, and it was only a very, very light spraying of undercoating, so it's not an issue. But I haven't done this in putty. Now what a lot of people tend to do with this is when they're doing casts like this, and the traditional way to do it is to use epoxy putties. You know, your green stuff, your sculpting putties like this. You know, doing mixes of green stuff and magic sculpt here to formulate the actual part itself, which is what I did first of all. And as you can see here, this is the first cast I did, and it works, don't get me wrong, it works. Being careful about it, you know, the part comes out, it captures the detail absolutely fine. There we go. Bit of cleanup to do on that one if I was ever going to use it, which I'm not. But as your traditional sculpt, the cast in epoxy putty. Now, I don't like this. I don't like it for a number of reasons, and this is where I was doing a little bit of experimentation. It takes a bit of work to get all these flash lines off and clean it up. You know, if you do it properly, you spend a bit of time, you can cut down a lot on the flash that comes out on here, you know, by squidging the stuff in here and keeping it flush with the actual impression here of the mold. It cuts down on a lot of that. But what I don't like about this method is this putty, when it's fully cured, even with the different mixes, ratios, it's hard. It is hard, but it's not hard enough for my liking. You can see here, a bit fragile, certainly on these small bits. Sorry, I'll get this back into camera. You can see here that snapped. And again, that was me testing it. I was actually applying some pressure when I first did it to see, okay, after this had fully cured, how much? And that just broke too easy, and I don't like that. I'd rather have it a bit more solid, a bit more rigid. The other factor with this is, and this is a purely a personal thing, is the time it takes to get these pieces. Once you've got them in the mould, and you've got it all in, and you squidge the two top halves together, you've then got to apply pressure to it, keep the pressure on, and you've got to leave it inside the mould for what, I don't know, 24 hours, 48 hours. I think that I left this in here for about 48 hours, so it's 2 days waiting for it just to cure, and then you've got the time to spend to then clean it all up, and so on and so on and so forth. I got to be honest, I'm lazy. I'm impatient when it comes to stuff like this, and it's purely because of a time factor. You know, when I do my modelling and my hobbying, certainly with my Warhammer and of course my current build series on my Enterprise model, you know, I work full time. I don't get any time on an evening when I get home from work to do any of this hobby. It's all spent on whatever little time I get on a weekend, and sometimes it could be as little as maybe, I don't know, 6 hours spread across the duration of a Saturday and a Sunday. So very, very little time indeed. So waiting, you know, for these bits is you know, is a pain for me personally. So I was experimenting to see, right, there's got to be a quicker, easier way of doing this. And that's where I came to do some experimentation. I thought, right, rather than using this stuff, you know, your putty, why not actually cast them in resin itself? And that's what we're seeing here. This is clear resin. And what I experimented with, because I've already got it, is this stuff from Green Stuff, or the UV resin. This is the clear, transparent stuff. Now I've picked this up more so for filling in windows, crystal clear, you know, glass-like effect windows on my model kits, my spaceship builds, all that kind of thing. This is expensive, so there's no way I was going to be using this exclusively. But as an experiment, it worked on here, and I thought, right, okay, that worked. Now the reason why it worked, because I thought, well, surely, you know, with this blue stuff, yes, it is blue, as you can see here, but it is semi-transparent, it's semi-translucent, so surely that should allow some UV light to pass through it. Now, of course, I've already got a UV torch, again from Green Stuff World here, and I thought surely that will allow the light to pass through. And if I demonstrate, switch it on, you can see here, yes, it does. That UV light is passing right through that. Okay, so what did I turn to in the end then? Went online and I thought, right, rather than using really expensive stuff all the time, let's go for the cheaper option, get more more bang for your buck. And I picked up this standard resin. Standard resin to be used in a 3D resin printer. From JO, I think it cost me about £16 on eBay to pick this up, a kilo's worth of it. Don't know if you can make it out, clear red. Okay, it's clear red. Colour-wise, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter about the colour, it'd be clear red, clear blue, clear green, whatever, because it's going to get painted anyway. But it's got to be clear. It's got to be transparent. The reason for having it clear is so that when the stuff is in the mould, the UV light needs to pass all the way through it to fully cure it. Okay. So let's do that then. Let me just show you how quickly this turns out and how easy it is to do. Now some of you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, it's a liquid, it's just going to all squish out. You will get a little bit of squishing coming out, of course you will, not too much, but it does work. It does work, and I'll show you that it works because I've already done it on several other pieces, and here you go. This is a body part. It's hard to pick up on camera, but you can see the detail that's still captured, just about picking it up. A little bit of cleaning up to do, a little bit of an air bubble there, that was my fault, that's not the mould, that was my fault putting it in, but it worked, it bloody well worked. And it's difficult to see this on camera, it's not picking it up very well, but looking at this detail-wise, comparing this side by side, and it was actually this body that I'd made a mould of before I started to chop it out, just so I had a spare just in case. That's captured the detail absolutely perfectly. It's the exact same detail as what's already on here. Anyway, enough waffling, Steve, get on with it. So, let's demonstrate this then. So I've got my two halves. What are we doing? Let's go that way. Get them the right way around. It's going to be flipped over and squished here. Let's do that. So, off comes the top. The good thing with this as well, there's going to be no cleaning up. You don't have to clean it up with any chemicals afterwards. There's none of that nonsense going on. fully curing all the resin. What I tend to use here, I've got a little pipette. I might need to get another one because this may have actually dried in here now. A little glass pipette. Should have actually cleaned this one out, but it doesn't matter. I've got tons of these sitting spare. Let's clean that out. There we go, that's clean. So a little glass squidgy pipette. All I'm doing then is just picking up a bit of that resin. Is it picking it up? Nope. It's because it's an old one and it's okay. It's not functioning as it should, but that's okay. All right, okay. Let's do it the other way then. So I'm just going to get a little bit on here. I'm just pooling this in. I'll try to get this on camera as best I can. I'm just letting the liquid pool in here, a little bit at a time. Just let it pool in, fill up the mould. Just keep pooling it in, keep pooling it in. Should have used a new pipette here, but it doesn't matter. There you go, a little bit more, a little bit more. And keep going in. Now I will put in a little bit more than is actually needed, so it kind of starts to overflow, and that's just so I'll make sure I've got plenty of the resin in the actual mould itself to fill it up. Bring this one over, same here. As you can see, I'm literally just dropping it in. Sorry that I can't get this any closer onto the camera here, but you get the idea. That's filled. There's your liquid in there. That's good. Any waste, any spare can go back into the bottle here. Clean this off like that. A bit of tissue, pop that in my little tub there. So that's ready to go. Get the lid onto this stuff first. Now, to be honest, fume-wise, coming off this stuff, there's no fumes. There's a little bit of an earthy smell to it, but nothing major. There's no massive fumes coming off this whatsoever. Let me just move this down so you can see a bit better what's going on. So there we go. So that's it, all filled up in the mould. Now this is where the magic happens. Oh, and the camera's going to fall over. Thank you. Thanks for that, camera. There we go. Right, don't fall over. Okay, so we've got the liquid in there. It's all filled in. Get this up into camera a bit more. God, I really need to work on my camera skills, don't I? Absolutely shocking. My videos are terrible. There we go. And you can see it running out a little bit, but that's fine. Okay. Probably want to get this on a bit of tissue. It can get a little bit messy. Get these two bits together, side by side. Over comes the torch, going to need that. Actually, no, I won't do that. Bad idea. Doesn't matter if it's on the bench. So all I'm going to do now is just flip these over. And you can see I've already got my little pins in readiness there, so I can just flip this on, get it in, squidge it down, a little bit of a squidge there, so you can see a little bit of liquid poured out, but that's okay. You know, I'm not going to mess around with it that much. Clean it up. It's only an old workbench. Just a little tap down just to make sure it's seated in. I'm not applying loads of pressure. No, in with the UV light. Get this cured. Again, I'm just going to keep going around like this. Keep going around. Make sure it's all fully cured for a couple of minutes. Yeah, it's going to cure the resin on the workbench, but again, I'm not really bothered about it. It's a DIY workbench when I'm doing woodworking and DIY jobs at home. Cure it around. Just keep the light there. That should be enough. It's kind of stuck to the bench. Yes, it did. Need a little bit more. So I'll flip it over from this point. Do it from the back as well. Just let that light pass through it. Let the UV light go all the way through. Do its thing. A little bit on the bench there. That's okay. I can actually use that as the test. Yeah, there you go, and it peels off. Peels off fine, so whatever. Get that in. Let's just keep going around. Now this is probably longer than is actually needed, but I'm just making doubly sure that it's all done. There we go. That should be, it fills. Look how easy that bit is there to bend and break off because it's a very thin piece. That should be okay. So now I'm just going to crack this open. I'll pull it open, I should say. Easier said than done. Being gentle about it. There you go. Get that bottom piece off. What I tend to do is, as it comes off here, I'll get in there with the light again. I'll try to do this on camera. I'll fully cure it. Another couple of minutes, if that, a minute or so. There we go. And that is now that piece done. Ready to demold. You can see here you got some flash because it squidged all the liquid out. That's why I did more than is needed, just to ensure that all of the detail is captured, all of the mold is filled up, and you can see it's all captured it nicely right there. Look at that. You can just make out the details. And again, the detail comes from the casting on the mold piece first. That's why when you use blue stuff, you need to keep it as hot and as squidgy and as pliable as you possibly can to really capture all that detail. But there we go, that's ready to come out. So literally, what's this, less than 5 minutes, 5 minutes worth of work, and you've got a part cast ready to be put and used on your model kit. Probably feels a little bit slick there, but that's okay. Again, you could probably wash this over with a little bit of soapy water. Let's pull this out, but that's now a solid piece. Out it comes, and there we go. Flash wise, and this is where, again, using this stuff is and again, look at the detail that is captured there. Absolutely spot on. Filled it right up. Cleaning off the flash with the green stuff. Oh, the green stuff, whatever, the putty. Doing the flash on this is a bit of a nightmare. Bit of sanding, bit of cutting with the knife. This stuff, look how easy this is. Look at that. Literally just flakes straight off. That is now 99% of all that flash completely gone, just purely by working it with the fingers. Okay, it's going to take a little bit more, a bit of sandpaper to go in, just to lightly sand it down, get rid of the ridge line, but there we go. How easy was that? A little bit of clean up there to do if you wanted to use it. Tiny bit, you know, with a knife, being careful to scrape it off. Bit of sandpaper, but there we go. One part cast. Once it's cleaned up, painted, ready to go. Leg piece on a model kit, and that is now solid. It's absolutely solid, and that is more solid. Yep, putting pressure on there, it's not breaking. More solid than that. And quicker and easier. Literally 5 minutes, if that, to get a piece cast, ready to install into your miniature, or onto your miniature, or whatever you want to do. These are little small bits. This is going to work for large parts. There's my mold ready to go. Put that back into the box, ready to go again. So there we go, everybody. Just thought I'd share this little process with everyone. As I said, I know a lot of people, when they use blue stuff to make casts of model parts for doing converting and additions to their kits and their pieces, it's always been the traditional putty that people use. I don't like it. It's too weak, too time consuming to use. UV resin, standard UV resin that is used in 3D printers. It works. It absolutely works, and it's solid pieces. Happy with that. Quicker, cheaper to do as well. Kilo worth of resin. Kilo worth 16 quid. How many of these bits am I going to get out of this? I mean, I'll probably even use this for the base toppers as well. When I, you know, once I've made the molds, the silicone molds of these pieces, I'll probably just recast them in this stuff again, because it's just bloody cheaper and quicker to do it. Because it's essentially what this is. But there we go. So there we are, everybody. Excuse me. Update video for everybody with regards to my sisters, my Battle Sisters squad, and just showing my process of how I make copies of molds for doing the conversions to these kits. As I said, on this one, originally it was experimented. The leg was done into clear, but going forward, it's going to be this clear red stuff that I start to use to install. And there we go. So what's left to come with this then is to work on the Palatine, get my Palatine model sorted out. Onto the base with the with the little Tyrannid, and figure out what head I'm going to put onto her and all the rest of it. And I'll probably add a few more little bits and pieces to her as well, just to make her stand out a little bit more, because she is my Palatine. And then yeah, it's over to the painting of the squad. Finally, get some painting done, get them up, get them mocked up and ready to go. Anyway, there we go, everybody. I'll wrap up now. Sorry for the waffling again and the long video. Also, again, apologies for the for the poor quality of my videos. I just don't get time to actually sit down and use video editing programs for these videos. I tend to just film them completely raw, bang them straight up onto YouTube. But I will get there. I will learn how to do it and put together some better videos later on when I got a bit more time. As ever, thank you to everybody that's hit the like button and the subscribe button, and thank you everybody for the comments. I always do like to read people's comments with regards to this. And again, don't get me wrong, everybody. We will have our own unique way of doing things when it comes to this hobby. Certainly with making molds and recasting parts, if your method is to use putty and that's what works for you, do it. Go for it. It's whatever works. For me, it's just the resin. I'd much prefer doing it in this stuff. It's quicker, it's cleaner, it's easier to use. It gives better results, frankly, than using putty. And thought I would just share this with you. That's my way of doing it. Anyway, enough from me. I need to crack on. Everybody have a very great day. If I don't do another update video on this particular playlist series, everybody have a very good Christmas and a happy New Year to everyone. And I shall be back as soon as I can with more show and tell and progress updates. Take care now. Bye bye.